Hi guys, here is C.Mataira from the Peruvian Amazon. It's October 2019. I want to do a little talk about Sapohuasca. Sapohuasca is a plant that is being used for healing bones. And here I have a piece of Sapohuasca. And to compare it with a piece of ayahuasca, so you see that it's very different in its growth. This is a vine as well. It's just very similar in the outlook on the outside, but on the inside, the face of it is very different. So Sapohuasca has Huasca is vine indeed. Huasca is vine. Sapohuasca has a liquid that seeps out of these concentric rings. This is an old piece, so and here I even have a giant piece here, which is really big, kind of came around the outside of a tree. So I'm particularly grateful to Sapohuasca because in 3 instances in my time, the last 12 years here that I've been here, it has been extremely helpful for me. I had 3 major falls, and one affected my lower back, my spine, and another one actually dislocated my shoulder on the left, and another one broke my ribs in about 5 places. So each time my friend Juan Salas, who has been helping me with bone work, which is called a huesero, to do with healing bones and putting bones back into place, he has been helping me with Sapohuasca. So Sapohuasca, early in the morning, he goes out and finds the vine and cuts it, and then the liquid that seeps out gets taken into a little pot, and then he brings it to the patient. The patient then, the idea is that you first of all put things back into place. So first of all there has to be an adjustment, and then after that you put the liquid on, which is like a kind of white gum, and then you put a piece of cloth, clean cloth, over it. And the Sapohuasca actually soaks into the cloth and actually sticks the cloth to your skin. As it dries, it kind of shrinks the cloth. So the whole thing gets pushed together. So if there were any breaks, they get, pushed together. So it's not only a kind of plaster, but it also acts as a kind of a thing that grabs the pieces and puts them back together, so like a kind of a clamp. Yeah, when it was being put on me, I felt it was like a white spirit, a beautiful, very compassionate white spirit, very soothing, because when you're in a situation of broken bones, you're usually pretty upset, and you feel that life's coming to pieces, coming apart. So it's been putting my life back together in some ways, and I'm very grateful. It sits on the skin for about 3 days to a week, and in that time it gets absorbed into your skin and into your bones. Then after that time there may be another adjustment, and again they put it on. So with for instance my ribs, it was 6 weeks, which is basically a normal time span for healing ribs, but a very, very good way to do it. At the time I did have some painkillers, and we also used a little bit of antibiotics in pill form, because I was worried about getting lung infections, and it's very difficult to cough when you're having broken ribs. So and it can come together. So anyway, fortunately the lung wasn't punctured, and but the interesting thing was that it was broken in in about 5 places. It seems like it was kind of like jacked together, so one side was hurt, and then the other side was also broken. So at the front and at the back it was broken. So that's, and me being 70, so that was probably one of the things where you get more brittle bones, and indeed I'm working on becoming more pliant, which you know, is a never-ending process with against the aging as well. So as that was being absorbed by my skin uh, and done again and again, so I had about 4 or 5 times it was redone, and each time the skin absorbs the Sapohuasca, which is a white gummy liquid, and it sets like a kind of plaster. So it's a really amazing kind of way of treating people because there's no the Sapohuasca with the cloth is very manageable. It's not like a big lump of plaster. It gives you a certain amount of flexibility still, so you can actually move yourself a little bit better, which was, for instance, especially when I had my arm dislocated, it made things a little bit more comfortable than a plaster would have been. Of course, I did in the case of the shoulder, I actually did use a support for my arm so that I wouldn't move it too much. Yeah, so then, for instance, with the ribs, in between, we had this problem that things were healing in a kind of lumpy fashion. So another friend of mine who's a curandero came over, and he gave it a stroking. So he stroked it for about an hour each place where it was lumpy. And in that way he actually managed to get the lumps to settle down and the bones to completely fall into the right places where they should be. So it was a big process and a very interesting process for me, even though it was painful and a bit scary as well. Because always wondering, how can I do this without any medical assistant, proper what we call Western medical assistant. But these people have been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, and this is, to me, very interesting to see how in the old days things were being healed. And actually I find it a lot more comfortable and harmonious than the modern day. So for instance, in the case of my shoulder, that took close to 5 months. Lots of adjustments. The interesting thing was that as he was working on that with the Sapohuasca and adjusting the bones, I actually cleared up several other problems that I had in my bones, about bones not being quite in the right place, which made my torso a little bit distorted. So we put a lot of the things back into place from the back as well as from the front, and put the Sapohuasca around it, so that everything was being pushed back into the right places, and of course the shoulder being adjusted back in. Now, with the case of the shoulder and also with the ribs, I did a small dieta, especially with the shoulder. I did a dieta of Renakia, which is a plant, is a bit like a fig tree, and the Renakia has lots of air roots that grow outside of the tree, and you can see how it actually has a strong energy of connecting things. So it really connects itself to itself, and it connects itself to its environment with all these little strings that it puts out like air roots. And that's why we used the bark of that and boiled it up for about 10 minutes, and then drank it like a tea in the morning and the evening. And then I kept the dieta of not eating salt, sugar, eggs, no sex, no oil, no alcohol, no marijuana, which I don't smoke anyway, but that's part of the story with the plants here. Partly because the marijuana coats the nerve endings with resin, and that makes it very hard for all the systems to work together to make it come together and heal you. So in that case, we drank the Renakia. I drank the Renakia for about 10 days, and had my dieta where I really restricted intake of several things, and this was being done because sometimes uh, when you have a dislocation in your shoulder, or anywhere really, you actually extend certain muscles and and I'm not sure the name of it, but the things that go around the muscles, and that actually is very difficult to heal back into place. So once it's extended, it's difficult to get it back in. And if you don't actually work on strengthening that whole system of nerves and tendons around the injured area, if you don't strengthen that, you could easily put it back out again by straining yourself or doing something that you don't normally do, or falling again. So, there's people that can put their shoulder out after the first time. They can put their shoulder out repeatedly, or other bones in the same place, and that is extremely annoying and incapacitating. So, so that's what the Abenaki was taken for, so that we would actually strengthen the nerves and tendons and veins and everything around the injured area, so that it would become stronger again. And this indeed has been the case, because it's been probably close to 6 or 7 years now since I fell and had that shoulder dislocated, and haven't had any recurrences of it. And I can actually, I carry a lot of buckets of water from my well, so that is proof that I managed to live my normal life without any recurrences of this weakness. And the same has happened with my back. I had my lower back problems since I was about 25 or 22. At the time, we thought of doing an operation on it, but I chose not to, because I felt it was making it harder for me to remain in my natural state. And even at that age, I felt that that's what I wanted to do. So, so I didn't get it operated on, and it was a kind of a weakening of the cartilage between the discs, and I've been working on that, and with holistic methods, with acupuncture and with different other ways, diet and attitudes, and I found that that actually has helped me to later on carry my children in backpacks and do a lot of normal work without too much detriment. But it has been a little bit of a tendency which has kept going for the rest of my life, and I really need to keep working on it, even here. Now I'm in the Amazon and of older age, and I've used the Sapohuasca quite a lot to put on my hips when I feel that it's not operating properly, and when I felt that my bones were slipping a little bit from the correct position, which made it hard for me to walk. So again, the Sapohuasca was very helpful, and I can't be grateful enough to this little fellow, this beautiful spirit. So it's not just ayahuasca, we're dealing with a whole system of plants and things that all work together to make life a lot better. Thank you for watching, and have a good day. Bye bye.